People without Christ are lost. They're empty, and they have an eternal hunger and a loneliness for the divine presence in their lives. It is a huge world. It's a world of 6 billion people, half of them living in Asia. 6 billion is more than our minds can comprehend, and we're called to reach that world with the message of Christ. It is a very complex world. Ever since the Tower of Babel, it has become more complex, not just politically, but also racially, religiously, linguistically, and culturally. And this very complex world is the world we're called to reach with Christ.
The world is changing. I suppose the world is always changing, but the changes we're seeing at the moment, we haven't either seen them before or not in our lifetimes. The whole globalization phenomenon in which the world is getting smaller means we do have to rethink the way we do missions.
What we really see is a need to help people prepare for missions in this world that's a lot more complex than it's ever been.
One of the things that we have noticed in the 50 years in which we have been providing resources, financial resources for churches, is that many of the missionaries who are desiring to go to the field are not properly equipped.
In the early 90s, Pam and I spent a
Missions Resource Network has 4 primary objectives, and the first of these is to develop church planting teams for strategic locations worldwide.
When I think of Missions Resource Network, I think of teams of missionaries planting churches throughout the world.
Mission Resource Network really steps in and helps us in a major way in forming teams now and talking to our students about what they need to do to prepare, working with supporting congregations that potentially can support them.
It's a very exciting time with Missions Resource Network in regard to Europe. We are presently working and mentoring teams to Czech Republic, to Vienna, Austria, as well as to Warsaw, Poland. Historically, what we have found in Europe is that teams have not done so well, so we are trying to learn what we've done in the past, engaging in conversation and dialogue with those who have experience in Europe, and pulling them in to try to help us understand how better to prepare teams to serve within that context.
I think Missions Resource Network has enabled us to take missions to a higher level than we've ever dreamed that we could take it. We have 2 teams right now of our own members that are forming to go to Vienna and to Warsaw, Poland. 5 years ago, we would never have dreamed that Memorial.
The second of our primary objectives, partnering with the Richland Hills Church of Christ, is to equip sending churches so that they become passionate stewards of God's global mission. The local church is the agency called by God to shepherd His global mission. We cannot do the work of the local church, nor do we want to do the work of the local church. But what we can do is we can try to equip that local church to be even more effective and more faithful in the shepherding of God's mission.
We work in so much isolation in churches of Christ. Our autonomy has been a wonderful thing, but in terms of mission, it has really been a barrier to more successful and more efficient use of God's resources. And Missions Resource Network is leading the way at helping us to be better stewards, more effective servants to reach the lost.
You know, one church changed the whole world, and that was the church at Antioch, because they faithfully carried through God's mission that He gave to them. At Missions Resource Network, we want to equip and encourage churches to faithfully carry on God's mission. We have a series of workshops that we call Stewards of the Mission, and we call them Stewards of the Mission because that's what Antioch was. Example of 2 stewarding congregations that set a role model for this are Memorial Road in Oklahoma City and Pleasant Valley in Little Rock.
Memorial Road has always been a missions-minded congregation, but the elders wanted to take missions to a higher level. And Bob came in, looked at our mission efforts from top to bottom, and came up with several suggestions that we have since implemented that have greatly improved our mission efforts.
Missions Resource Network is not trying to run missions for churches of Christ around the brotherhood, but they are trying to help us come together and work together and learn together so that we can do a better job of doing missions.
Now available to local churches is a new missions curriculum called Journeys Around the World. It's for children through teenagers, and it's written by Dr. Joyce Harden. Dr. Joyce has trained more than 2,000 Bible class teachers to teach missions in the local church. Global Missions Conference. That is a national conference where we gather churches from all around the country, missionaries from all around the world, and we come together for a 4-day virtual feast in God's mission.
Our third primary objective is to nurture missionaries and their families, and we are working with the Highland Oaks Church of Christ to accomplish this important task.
Now we're able to help missionaries in their preparation time. We're able to help them on the field, and we're able to help them when they return. And especially re-entry is important because even though it seems kind of odd, it is much more difficult than entry is in the first place.
I remember asking God to provide for us. We did not want our children to suffer because of our decision to do mission work.
Dr. Dottie Schultz reassured us that our children were doing well. She spoke with us about personal feelings about things just moving back here that we were experiencing. She explained things that we knew we were going through, but to see it in writing it was good to see that explanation for what we were feeling.
And I can't imagine doing mission work or returning from a mission back to our home culture without a resource like Missions Resource Network.
Dr. Schultz in her work is helping churches and missionaries be aware of the resources that are really already available.
Our fourth primary objective is to advance strategic planning and cooperation within our fellowship, so that what results is a collaborative missions spirit.
When I think of MRN, I think of strategic planning. We need someone with the big picture. We have teams that focus on one particular area. A church may focus not even on an area, but just a missionary going to that area. And we need someone to continue to help us have the big picture so that we don't reinvent the wheel, we don't get in each other's way. We can actually bring the best of our resources together in a way that's focused and concentrated. And I think when we do that, we're better stewards of God's resources.
One of the things that I think MRN has done is help us to think more strategically with your coordinators in various areas of knowing where do we need to plant churches, how do we need to plant churches in those areas.
I think Missions Resource Network has played a really important role in helping us cooperate from region to region. Our schools have tended to be the regional hubs of missions information and coordination, but we ourselves have not had a hub, a place where we would all come together and share ideas. Missions Resource Network is providing that hub of conversation.
The teeming masses of humanity that inhabit our villages and clog our cities are in desperate need of the gospel. Without Christ, they are lost, empty, and lonely. They need redemption. They need the indwelling presence of the Holy Spirit. And they need for God once more to enter their garden and walk with them in the cool of the day. This is the passion that drives us at Missions Resource Network, and it is the passion we share with the rest of God's people. We must not stop preaching and teaching the story of Jesus until the whole earth is covered with His message of hope. This is the charge given to us by the Lord, and it is our destiny as His disciples.
Giving praise unto the Lamb.